course, that 8-1 win for City. So we're all ready to go here at Suncorp Stadium. And it's Brisbane looking to avenge that 8-1 humiliation tonight against a City side who desperately need to rediscover the free-flowing football we witnessed that night. Grace Gill joins me in commentary. And Grace, are you expecting a much tighter contest tonight?
Afternoon, Ben. Great to be here, and yeah, fair to say 9 goals last time these two teams faced each other, so no doubt it will be a tighter encounter. That's a bit of an outlier result, that one. And of course, Brisbane not wanting to have a repeat of that 8-1 defeat. And under Zadkovic, well, you can't imagine that to happen either.
Jay O'Shea, who returned last week for that important match against Wellington, so too did Jelicic. So 2 big inclusions for Brisbane, and Hingett looking for an early cross. And now Mila Jusnic almost fired it inside Jamie Young's near post, back against one of his old sides, the Melbourne City goalkeeper. He had to spring into action there.
Well, brilliant start from Brisbane Roar. Started really brightly. Hingett's done really well to pick out Mila Jusnic on that occasion, and a big strong hand from Jamie Young to steer that around. But that's exactly the start that the Roar would have been looking for, and Zadkovic would have implored his players to approach it with too.
So Brisbane with the first corner of the match so far. Some good targets there for O'Shea. And at the back post, would you believe it? It is a first A-League goal for Kai Truan. It's taken 95 matches. But the youngster, the 22-year-old, has opened the scoring. One of the most unlikely of goal scorers makes it Brisbane 1-0.
Well, what a start for the Roar. In the opening 2 minutes of this match, Kai Truan, a set piece too. There was one hand raised in the air from none other than Jay O'Shea, who so often takes these set pieces. And on the Harvey Norman replay, at the back post, unmarked, easy as you like, Kai Truan is able to rise above. The question needs to be asked of Melbourne City's defence. There's absolutely no one challenging him, and leaves Jamie Young fairly exposed. But what a start for the Roar.
And you can see Kai Truan, you can see what it means to him. After having not scored, he's going to be close to the youngest player in the A-League to 100 games. Bernie Abini, the only man that is likely to be ahead of him in that race. And so consistent for Brisbane. Hadn't got a goal in the A-League until this evening. And what a moment. Melbourne City, early on, have had their pants pulled down here.
Well, it's a bit of a nightmare start for City. Although a lot of football to be played ahead, and it's one of those occasions where it's not panic stations. Both teams plenty of time to sit in, to build back, and City won't be panicking, but certainly not an ideal situation.
And Lapane looking to get that cross into the box to feed Jamie McLaren. But if Brisbane fans were asked the perfect start, and you asked those people in the den, what would be a dream day, it would be Brisbane getting themselves in front early against the 3-time defending premiers, Melbourne City, who all of a sudden the questions are being asked about them. 3 losses in their last 4, plenty of time to turn it around, but this makes life a little bit challenging for them.
Well, the ponchos are out at Suncorp Stadium. It's a mild afternoon, but that has started with a fair amount of fire for the Brisbane Roar. And what a moment too for Kai Truan, the young player, as you mentioned, vastly experienced for his age. But to find the back of the net, well, you saw in the celebrations as well how much it meant to him, how much it meant to the players around him. Got around him in great fashion, and good to see him nod one home.
Came up through the FFA Centre of Excellence in Canberra and then moved to Brisbane in 2018, did Kai Truan. So many people would probably associate him with the Roar, but Gungahlin United, his first club, and now Waddingham unleashing. So a couple of the young boys, one from the back line, and Tommy Waddingham, who scored just the one this season after bursting onto the scene in the Australia Cup with 4 goals, including in that final defeat to Sydney. He'll be looking to get that confidence up again as Leo Natel goes down. Alex King is just explaining to Jack Hingett why he's blown the foul, because Brisbane players have surrounded the referee, and Ruben Zadkovic, he's asking Ali Reza Fagani some questions.
Have a look. It looked like just the slightest of clips from Jack Hingett. Players quick to remonstrate it is a dangerous part of the field for City to line up a free kick.
So Jimmy Jego, who's returned to the starting lineup, came off the bench last week against Perth after returning home from Scotland, where he was with Hibs. Been there for the last season and a half. He looked like he was going to stand over it, but it's Leo Natel who is looking more likely. The Brazilian, just a couple of goals for him this season, and he goes pretty direct and straight at Macklin Freak, who had to beat it away. Didn't want to take any chances with the wet conditions today at Suncorp.
Well, it's given Macklin Freak plenty to think about. It's hit with good pace, good speed, right down into his chest, so made that fairly easy, but you could see he had to steer it away just at the last minute.
This time it is Jego on the set piece, driving it in towards good deflection. Freak in the right place there to punch it away, and Brisbane get it clear. And then Lapane. Boot linking with Galloway. So if you've just joined us, Kai Trewin, the opening goal for Brisbane Roar, his first in the A-League, and Melbourne City conceding from a corner for the first time this season. So we always know the longer you go without conceding from a corner, it's probably more likely than not, but it's been an area they've been so solid, and they just couldn't afford it, especially in this kind of situation. 3 losses in their last 4 matches.
Well, that's especially impressive as well, the stat not having conceded from a corner. They were the only team to remain to do so up until inside the 2nd minute of this match this evening, and Kai Trewin would break that record for City. Lapane
and Natel. And the cross towards McLaren, who was making a beeline for that near post. Henry Hoare evading Jego, looking for Waddingham. The chase is on here. It's Jordan Hall leading the charge. Not many opportunities in the A-League for Jordan Hall. This is 10th match this season, though. 3 starts in his 4 appearances for the Blacktown City product, who had to fight his way back into the A-League via the NPL. Spent some time with Green Gully from 2020 to 2021 and rejoined Melbourne City at the end of that 2021 NPL season, after coming up through the ranks at Blacktown and then to Melbourne City in 2015. So great opportunity for him tonight, but already a tough start defensively for a Melbourne City backline, which has looked a shadow of itself in recent years in comparison to that watertight defence we've seen across those premiership victories.
Well, too, it's a backline that has undergone some pretty significant changes.
Oh, this is a nasty one here. Henry Hoare getting up. Yellow card has been handed out to Henry Hoare, and there's some serious concern here. Looks to be towards the cheekbone area of Steve Ugarkovic.
Yeah, heavy clash, heavy coming together. And just as Henry Hoare on the way down is caught the side of Ugarkovic, who's hit the ground really heavily. Hoare quick to apologise.
It's a shocker, isn't it, Grace? Especially that cheekbone. get up around the forehead, bit more strength there, but that cheekbone area was where it looked to cop Steve Ugarkovic. He's back to his feet now, which is fantastic, and Henry Hawes just apologising.
Ugarkovic has been one of those players for City this season as well. Perhaps hasn't quite got the plaudits is deserved, but consistent in the middle of the park. And we speak about a lot of changes for City, but Ugarkovic is ever present there.
Always a consistent performer, isn't he, across his time in the A-League. Jelicic. And Henry Hawes loves these kind of situations, takes on Galloway, beats him, but couldn't evade the returning Jimmy Jego. It's a wet night in Queensland this evening, Brisbane specifically, but the Den have turned out in numbers and they are in full voice here. Second match in charge for Ruben Zadkovic. Grabbed a point last week against Wellington. Big point as well. Corey Brown's late equaliser, ensuring they took something out of that game. And now Melbourne City arrive in town. They beat them 8-1 last time, and it's Brisbane leading, and it's Brisbane pushing on here through O'Shea. Lovely pass, and it was just left behind by Keegan Jelicic. He takes a better first touch, Grace, and there's a big chance on goal. Yeah,
little hand of apology there from Jelicic. Great release from Jay O'Shea, and you can see he's just got his foot in court underneath. He's a good, sprightly young player, and a touch out in front, out from under his feet, and he would have been in a prime goal-scoring position.
Melbourne City might be dominating possession. Gee, that is surprising. Melbourne City, 3 shots at goal. Brisbane, 3 as well. Just watching the opening stages of this one, Grace, I would have thought that Brisbane would have had more opportunities, but you'd probably say of those 3 chances Brisbane have had, they've been the better of the chances. They've looked the more dangerous so far. Henry Hawes gliding down the left, looking to take on Galloway, and again, he gets the better of him. He's going to have his hands full tonight. Here's Scott Galloway up against Henry Hawes. Here he is again. He's been ever present. He's whipping in a low cross, which is going to earn Brisbane a throw-in. Piling the pressure on in this opening 15 minutes. You can see the Melbourne City fans top of screen. Pretty downcast at the moment. They're not used to this. There's a free kick going Brisbane's way. 1-0 defeat to Western Sydney. Started the rot in Unite round. Then 2-1 they went down to the Mariners. A 1-0 win over Adelaide. And then a 4-2 win for Perth after City had led in that match. Joe Coletti curling it in. Trewin, oh, you're joking. Kai Trewin, he'd never scored in the A-League before today. He's almost had 2 in the first 15 minutes.
Well, his eyes lit up. He liked how the first one felt, no doubt. But what a delivery. The run as well from Trewin was perfect. He's kept himself onside, just halted and denied by nothing more than the woodwork on that occasion. But what a start that would have been for Brisbane Roar. And Kai Trewin, well.
That's just amazing, isn't it? How often do you see it? A player's never scored and then all of a sudden, on one perfect day, all of a sudden. Now this is an awkward one. Is this going to be a corner? Oh, that's a shocker for Brisbane. So an attempted clearance off the back of a Brisbane player, and this is going to bring an opportunity for Melbourne City. So it could have been 2-0. They were a coat of varnish away from being 2-0 up Brisbane, and now Melbourne City. Well, is this a classic sucker punch moment? As the cross is whipped in onto the head of Waddingham. simply cleared for the moment. You can see the desperation defensively from Brisbane early in this game. There are bodies flying everywhere in that box. And now Henry Hoare. Waddingham looks up. He knew what he was trying to do. A speedy Miller-Jusnic out on the right. But he couldn't get it past Jimmy Jegger.
Yeah, just tiny touches of inexperience there, and understandably so for the 18-year-old Thomas Waddingham. He's a great big figure, good strong stature, but just when he comes to receive the ball back to goal, just needs to keep moving the ball away from feet. City are too good and poke it away like they did on that occasion.
Jelicic has it taken off his toes by Politidis. And now Lopana. Looking for Ugarkovic, but Brisbane, they're cutting out all the key passes in this opening part of the game. They've started this match superbly. The question is, can they keep it up? Can they keep this intensity? And you may look at this Brisbane side, everything they've had to deal with this season. 4 coaches this campaign. Started with Ross Aloisi, then Luciano Trani came in for that 8-1 defeat against City. Ben Kahn, who's now on medical leave, and Ruben Zadkovic. But geez, they're putting that all behind them here as Hingett, Waddingham. He gets a better piece of that. Brisbane would have forced a save out of Jamie Young. They are creating so many opportunities here, Grace. You just think they're going to have to take one of them because we know the quality that Melbourne City possess.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll be ruining those missed chances, and already in those transition moments, the game is becoming quite stretched. Brisbane did really well in that last passage of play just to pull the field apart. Nice switch out to Hingett.
Lopane and Natel. Takes on Hingett. Leo Natel gets to the byline, and the ball spills fortuitously for Henry Hoare. It could have dribbled into the path of a Melbourne City player, but it was Henry Hoare, right place, right time.
Well, he needed to be as well. That driving run from Leo Natel, and it won't be the last time he does that this afternoon. Really good, powerful player on that left wing is Natel.
Telling stat there, 8 clearances from Brisbane. There's Politidis curling it in. Nikolovsky with the clearance, but Jamie McLaren, he's just waiting for that one chink in the armour.
Oh, that's all he needs. Just half a breath of space, and Jamie McLaren is so good at popping up in those areas for City.
Five matches without a goal for Jamie McLaren. Ugarkovic in the boot. He should earn a corner and does. It's quite an incredible record, Jamie McLaren's. 5 matches without a goal. He hasn't gone more than that in the same season. So this is in the same season in the A-League since 2015. That was the last time he had 6 matches without a goal. That just shows you his quality, the way he's been so prolific in this league. So you sense he's going to score sooner rather than later. Jeggo to the near post. Trewin with a powerful header. Natel, and now Miller-Jusnic. Can he turn defence swiftly into a counter-attack here? Coletti uses Jelicic. Hands raised by Hoare on the far side. Has to recalibrate here through O'Shea, and now Miller-Jusnic. O'Shea Is it a little heavy? Yes, it is. So it'll just be a City goal kick. And as Brisbane appeal whether O'Shea should get a free kick, let's head down to the sideline with Amy Chapman. Amy, how are you going down there?
I'm good, Benny. I've got the brolly up. I've got a poncho on. So great conditions for a game of football. Not great conditions to watch a game of football, but in terms of the pitch, relatively good condition, making for a quick, pacey game, actually. But we're expecting rain for another 30 minutes, taking us all the way to half-time. So good high-intensity game on our hands.
Thanks, Amy. Yes, great conditions for football, great conditions for zipping the ball around here, and we've really been enjoying these opening 20 minutes. It's been a good watch so far. And Natel allows it to run on here for Politidis. Back-to-back starts for him, coming in at left back. Of course, this is Bajic heading over to Al Nassr to join Cristiano Ronaldo. Neatly evaded the press of Brisbane there, Melbourne City. Ugarkovic. McLaren just being not given the time of day at the moment. He has been getting into some half openings with Brisbane so far with this young combination at the back of Nikolovsky and Truan. Well, they're standing up, but there is Truan giving the ball away. And now Naboot, not going to trouble Macklin Freak with that kind of strike though.
It's a really good point you make though, Ben, that centre-half pairing. Nikolovsky 22, Kai Truan 22. I'm so used to seeing at the back for Brisbane the likes of Scott Neville, Tom Aldred, vastly experienced centre-half pairing, missing through injury. And it's forced the hand of Ruben Zadkovic to come up with a different combination, and well, so far they're holding steady, and the fact that Truan has contributed to the opening goal as well, not just contributed but found the back of the net. He'll be very pleased with that, but they will be tested against what it is a very experienced front line for Melbourne City.
Ball attempted to be slipped in behind, but you really feel someone like Kai Truan, he is ready for this kind of senior opportunity. He's been there, as we said. He's going to be, provided, fingers crossed he doesn't get injured, he's going to be the second fastest A-League player to 100 games behind Bernie Abini. So just shows you how quickly he's been able to rack up those matches. And then you got Nikolovsky, who, yes, you look at his numbers and you go, well, this is only his 6th match in the A-League after coming through the Sydney FC Academy, but he's played in the NPL for Mount Druitt, Rockdale before moving to Brisbane in 2022. You just sense that experience at NPL level against men, not playing in a youth league competition, that's going to be invaluable for him in these kind of situations. Good turn from Lopane away from O'Shea. Not often you outfox the experienced Irishman. And now Natel. And it's well done by Nikolovsky. It will be a corner though for Melbourne City.
Well, Nikolovsky not willing to take any risks there, and understandably so. Brisbane were just trying to hold out the oncoming Melbourne City, but that turn in the middle of the park, Jay O'Shea just losing his marker. Afforded City this opportunity. Another corner as well.
5 goals from corners this season for Melbourne City. Only Sydney FC have more with 6. good targets, the likes of Good, Natal, Jego. It's a deep delivery, and Macklin Freak, he's been good on the punch so far. Galloway chipping it back in, and Hingett, it was being urged by not just his teammates, by the Den as well, to let that go.
Well, you'd rather a chorus of voices as a defender telling you in that situation to leave it than the alternative and you nodding it out for another corner and then asking where the shout was.
You love that as well, don't you? A bit of crowd interaction, saying they can help out the team in that kind of situation. Truant to Freak. And Burke-Gilroy able to go through the gears here. Just allowed the space to run into there as Hoare. Jelicic some space to shoot. Blocked off by Jego, who's had some really important involvements in this match so far. Of course, he would have liked to help City retain possession there as Hoare gets flattened off the ball here by Nabbout. Is there further punishment here? He doesn't think so. Alex King is going to go over for a conversation.
No doubt he'll be getting a bit of instruction. Nabbout doesn't look to be having too much of it. Just heavy contact. As Hoare looked to continue his run. Well, I might have to argue that he's a bit lucky to avoid a yellow card with that.
I agree. You see that in other sports, a body check like that. So O'Shea's delivery straight to Jamie Young. Yeah, it is more commonplace in other sports, but in football, you engage in that kind of conduct and you're probably going to go into the book. So he is a little bit lucky. Maybe Alex King just felt a bit sorry for him because he is very strong, Andrew Nabbout. So a little touch from him would send a lot of players sprawling to the turf. And terrific to see him back on the field because City were expecting him to be out for the season with that Achilles injury. So miraculous recovery and awesome to see him back.
Oh, incredible. Nabbout thought he would be out for the season, but to recover in the time he has, and after such a really challenging injury such as an Achilles rupture, well, it's almost like a new signing for City, having him back out on the field.
And Natal apologising to his teammates. That pass was horribly overhit, wasn't it? Really concerning for Melbourne City. One of their star overseas recruits, the Brazilian, who's on loan from Corinthians this season. And wow, they just look a little off kilter at the moment to the visitors, and Brisbane Roar singing in the, I was going to say rain, it's now a downpour, you'd say, here in Brisbane.
Yeah, well, you can see how heavily the rain is coming down there, and that starts to play into the type of game that's been played before us as well. The weight of pass has got to be perfect, got to play the correct side of the body, because those little details, those 1%ers will become pronounced under this amount of water and rain. And we've seen a couple of through balls just carry a bit too long, and that's just picking up on the surface and buzzing through.
Politidis. Good. Responding to the request from Jamie Young. And to be honest, they look to be creating better openings in that opening 20 minutes. They just seem to have found life a lot more difficult. Maybe just the confidence has been drained by some of the defensive work of Brisbane in the last few minutes or so. You can see pretty even on that front, and Brisbane are just able to work the ball around nicely here. O'Shea, Mile-Jusnic. As Hoare making that run through the middle, but they use Mile-Jusnic, and Henry Hoare still unmarked in the centre. He clips it in. Waddingham will score. Tom Waddingham with his first goal in the A-League at Suncorp Stadium. Well, that's a big moment for the youngster. He got off the mark in Gosford, but that is his first at home, and you can see the relief And can you believe this? Brisbane are leading the 3-time premiers 2-0.
Well, that is a beautiful team goal. We saw patient build-up from the back, and on the Harvey Norman replay, that first-time ball through to find Mile Uznic, the first-time cross as well. Tom Waddingham uses his power, uses his stature, bundles that into the back of the net. It's a perfect start for Brisbane.
Well, we saw what he could do in the Australia Cup with those 4 goals in the competition, and now he gets number 2 in the A-League, and you can see why first it was Ross Aloisi that rewarded this 18-year-old in the Cup, and he's delivering in the league as well. 2 goals in his debut season, and for an 18-year-old, it's pretty impressive. He can really go on now and make this a big season. And Brisbane 2-0 up against Melbourne City. And now McLaren from distance. Jamie McLaren could have pegged one back there, but the former Raw striker, he couldn't dip it under the crossbar.
It wasn't a bad strike from Jamie McLaren. It did have a bit of dip about it. And what that does as well to Brisbane Roar is just puts a bit of hesitation in their minds for the next time McLaren gets the ball. They look to play short or look for a long-range effort. But this is interesting. We saw Brisbane in build-up to their last goal with a really nice bit of team build-up play through the midfield, and City just couldn't break that pass-in passage. Sitting back in, but unable to intercept.
It just looks so easy at the moment for Brisbane, the way they are just finding space everywhere. And here is Hingett. He's got Mile Uznic down the right. It's almost a carbon copy of what happened in December. Is there a third on the way? Jelicic's strike into Galloway. Now Coletti, Joe Coletti. He hasn't scored in the A-League either. Maybe it's the night for it.
Well, rainy, slippery conditions. You can afford to have a strike from that kind of distance. It makes it all the more challenging for the goalkeepers, especially for those ones that skid up just in front of them.
.5 minutes almost on their watch here. Brisbane Roar through 2 of their young guns, Trewin and Waddingham. And they are all over Melbourne City at the moment. They just have no answers as O'Shea glides wide. O'Shea! 3-0 Brisbane! Now it's the captain getting in on the act. 8-1 they were beaten in December by City. They're 3-0 up inside 33 minutes. This is staggering.
Well, this is huge from Brisbane Roar. Again, another good team goal. Breaking up play in the middle of the park. Melbourne City have some serious concerns to deal with. For Brisbane Roar, the captain, Jay O'Shea, who else on the Harvey Norman replay? And look at the orange numbers stream forward. Good positioning by Jay O'Shea. The pass, if anything, a little behind him, and he has to create. Gets a little touch, drop of the hips, swivel of the hips, and on the left foot, finds the bottom corner for the 3rd time this afternoon, and Brisbane Roar are flying.
It is wave after wave. It's an orange tsunami, this, from Brisbane Roar. They are just suffocating Melbourne City out of this match. And Jay O'Shea, well, what a season he's having. That's goal number 7 for the campaign. Remember, he got 9 last year. And Ruben Zadkovic, well, what about his spell in charge? The draw last week against Wellington. The goals are raining in here as O'Shea rises up the Brisbane Roar leaderboard in terms of goals. And the Den, well, they are dancing into the night here at Suncorp Stadium.
The Den well and truly singing in the rain, and understandably so. What a first 35 minutes for the Brisbane Roar. It really feels as though City are suffering in the midfield at the moment. We know they're without the likes of Tolgay Arslan, who, well, so much of their creative and attacking play comes from him. He'll be out for a period of time after his red card last week. But some serious question marks to be addressed at the halftime break that you'd have got to say for Aurelio Vidmar can't come soon enough.
And Aurelio Vidmar has spoken this week about the challenges, and let's be fair, they have been challenges dealing with the defensive injuries. Suprayon, who's on the bench here, Nuno Reis out with a groin injury, also previously out with personal reasons. So you got Curtis Good in there with Jordan Hall, who's playing just his 10th A-League match, and we know the challenges that you face when you cannot keep a solid backline. You look at Wellington, have been able to keep basically their back four together all season, one of the best defensive units in the comp. Same for Victory. It hasn't been the case for City this season. And it's Galloway towards Naboot. This will be a corner for City. But might be too early to delve into the difficulties of Melbourne City and what is going wrong for them at the moment. 35, almost 36 minutes in. There's still time for them to pull this out of the fire. They scored 8 against Brisbane in December, so they know they can find the back of the net against them. As Jego's delivery. Waddingham getting involved there. They scrounged it away, Brisbane. Now Coletti into the back of Waddingham. But everything's falling for Brisbane. Well, not on that occasion. Naboot trying to open up on the right boot. Galloway, and pinched off him by Burke Gilroy. City undefeated coming into this one in their last 6 against the Raw. There are a lot of stats that could get blown out of the water with a result like this. Hoare. Good run being made here by Burke Gilroy. He's bearing down on goal, but there's no one in the middle. And he earns the next best thing, and that's a corner kick. But I think Brisbane have been doing so much attacking, almost ran out of legs there.
Well, probably did need a bit of a breather, but Gilroy looking up. Not necessarily the right decision on that occasion to try and cross. Just didn't have the numbers in the box. City well positioned to defend. But, as you said, a corner. And when you've got a 3-goal buffer, well, perhaps you can afford to gamble a bit on a wet afternoon.
Corner played short. Burke Gilroy's got a lovely right boot as he looked to whip that in. Hingett trying to send it back out to that left. How about that for a touch from O'Shea? Trewin, Waddington, O'Shea, the goal scorers for Brisbane so far. Jelicic wants to join the party. Jelicic has joined the party! Back in the A-League, back in Brisbane Raw colours. What a strike that is, and it's 4-0, and we're not even at half-time.
Well, it was 7 rounds ago that Melbourne City beat Brisbane Raw 8-1, and the Raw took that personally. On the Harvey Norman replay, a nice drop of the shoulder. Wet, slippery conditions this afternoon makes it tough for the goalkeeper. But Keegan Jelicic, on his return to the A-League, he's had to build his way back into this team. A red card in its last week, but that is a fine, fine finish.
Keegan Jelicic, he'll be leading the Paramount Plus Player Index. He's got a goal to go with 2 assists. And I chatted to Ben Kahn when he initially brought him in, and he said he was so excited that Keegan Jelicic was back in the A-League and playing with Brisbane. He was going to be huge coming back on loan from Ghent in Belgium. And he has returned, and he has starred since that red card in January. A goal, a couple of assists. His first goal in the A-League for Brisbane under his old boss at Perth Glory, Ruben Zadkovic.
Oh, exactly right. And that year under Zadkovic, a couple of seasons ago now, Jelicic had a great season. And exactly what afforded him the move overseas. And A-League fans are excited to see him back in the league. And that's why moments of that quality. He's a fantastic young player, just 21 years old. And a bright, bright future ahead of him.
Well, you've got to be impressed by Brisbane. You've got to be impressed by how Ruben Zadkovic has turned this ship around after, let's be honest, this could have rapidly headed south for Brisbane this season after it started so promisingly. Remember, if you heard the intro, when Simon Hill introduced that game between Brisbane and City in December, Brisbane won that game. They would have gone second. That shows you where they were on the table. They were right up there. And since then, and in their intervening period, just one win in 9. But they are still in the finals race thanks to that start to the season. And for Aurelio Vidmar, they were on an 8-match undefeated run across all competitions. They were beaten by Western Sydney in Unite round. And remember that they could have had a penalty in the final minutes. There was some controversy around that. It didn't go their way. And now, staring down the barrel of 4 losses in 5. Can they get a goal back here? McLaren leaves it for Lapane. They just need one before half-time, Melbourne City, to give themselves some kind of hope in the second half. Brisbane not allowing them any space, though. Does spill here for Jego. And Politidis. But it doesn't take an expert to work out, Grace, that Melbourne City defensively have got some problems. 4 goals last week against Perth, 4 goals here against Brisbane Roar. Could it get worse?
Yeah, no doubt. They've had a few issues to try and work through, but to play devil's advocate as has Brisbane, rather. What I'm trying to get at is that Brisbane have had their own troubles at the back, and I mentioned just before the likes of Aldred, Neville. We know that Berenguer was out for a period of time and is back on the bench this afternoon. But for Brisbane, it hasn't been without their troubles too. So the fact that they've put 4 past this Melbourne City side makes it all the more impressive.
Well, history is against City. They have come back from 2-0 down in A-League history, 3 occasions. But I'm told never have they come back from 4 goals down. And that's what's ahead of them here. Jego. And Ugarkovic. What treatment is Aurelio Vidmar going to dish out to his team in the halftime chat? Will it be fairly calm, or will it be paint off the walls? We'll be very intrigued. Naboot delivering onto the head of Truan. Gee, they have been resolute, haven't they? Truan and Nikolovsky. Truan, who's fighting for a spot in that Ollie Roos side for the qualifiers in April, the Olympic qualifiers, and then potentially an Olympic berth if they can get themselves through those Olympic qualifiers in Qatar in April. He was in the most recent Ollie Roos squad. Certainly done his chances no harm this evening. Now Jack Hingett turning on a bit of snarl, but on that occasion opens the door for City. Natel cannot beat Hingett, and Hingett, well, he gave him a serve while he was getting off the turf, Leo Natel. Hoare slips it in behind for Mila Jusnic. He's too quick for his teammates. Drops it back for Henry Hoare. And Mila Jusnic could only find Lapane. Seconds before half-time. Brisbane fans are wondering if this is a dream. Melbourne City fans wondering if it's a nightmare. And if you're a neutral, you're probably just as stunned as we are. It's incredible what we've witnessed in this first half at Suncorp Stadium. 4 minutes of additional time. Polititis. And good. Lapane. They've got an answer defensively to everything City have thrown at them so far. And even Polititis, he can't manoeuvre it past O'Shea. Milojevic, Jelicic in a tight area, had it taken off him by Jego. And Melbourne City just getting a little bit of ascendancy here. Just able to win back possession a little more easily. Brisbane maybe getting a little leggy after they have worked so hard in this first half to come firing out of the blocks. Lapane with the chest straight into the path of Hingen.
Deep Brisbane are defending every player behind the ball.
Naboot getting up. Good powerful header. But it was always going to be tough from that kind of angle with Macklin Freak in position.
City just trying to pick the pass, but as I was just saying, the numbers behind the ball, congested areas. It's hard to pull that apart. And the option over the top has got to be pretty special.
Is there one more for the Roar? Every time they seem to go forward, it looks as though there's an opportunity that is presented. 7 goals was the margin back in December. Well, they're more than halfway there. Polititis. And Jego. Lapane. Lovely with the outside of the boot to Leonatel, bearing down on goal. But Brisbane, the orange wall on this occasion, ensuring that that strike couldn't get past Milojevic. So the question for City is, are they going to push the Tilio button? He's on the bench tonight. They've also got Yarkelis. Here is Naboot just gliding into space at the back post, but Brisbane again with the answers. O'Shea looking for the free kick and gets it. Marco Tilio back in City colours after returning from the Asian Cup. Suprayon, Yarkelis. Young brigade as well, Max Caputo. They've also got Matthew Leckie on the pine. There are so many options. That just shows you the options that City have. But right now, they have got a mountain to climb thanks to one of the great first halves in Brisbane Roar history. It was stunning. It was breathtaking, and they dismantled the 3-time defending premiers in the A-League. They are stunned. Brisbane Roar fans are giving it to City on their way down the tunnel. And there's some serious feeling. And it's not Brisbane fans, it's Melbourne City fans who are actually giving it to their players. Well, it is all happening here at Suncorp. Brisbane Roar 4, Melbourne City 0. And we are going to have a quick break, and we're going to try our best to sum that all up in just a few moments. It's Brisbane leading City 4-0.
Ford takes over, still going, what a run, brilliant individual goal. Fowler, it opens up for the shot, oh, Barry Fowler, what a goal. They're queuing up in the middle, Carpenter, who sets the bar so high for the Matildas.
Welcome to the Hungry Jacks halftime show from Suncorp Stadium, where it is Brisbane Roar 4 leading Melbourne City 0. Yes, that scoreline is correct. There is no mistake. Brisbane Roar with one of their great first halves. Let's have a look at the Harvey Norman highlights, and Grace Gill. It was just wave after wave from the men in orange.
And it started with this very first goal, the first goal that Melbourne City have conceded from a corner all season. And Kai Truan, what a moment for him too. The team got around him and celebrated in fashion, and it really just went on from there. We've hardly caught our breath at half-time because this was such a flurry of a start, and Brisbane were just flying.
Tom Waddingham with his first goal at Suncorp Stadium in the A-League. Big moment for him, and you could see the relief on his face as well. And then, once again, this has just been the story of the first half. Brisbane winning back possession here, Grace, and then it was Jay O'Shea joining the goals.
Well, brilliant counter-attacking play. Dispossessed in the middle of the park, Melbourne City, and Brisbane so well. They moved quickly, they were direct, and Jay O'Shea with a bit of O'Shea magic on that occasion. Swivel of the hips, and that's a lovely finish.
Jamie Young just a little slow to react, but the skidding off the surface, because it has been raining across the first half, made things very difficult. And then Keegan Jelicic, his first goal for Brisbane Roar, a touch on the way through, but it was so well placed that it made it 4-0 to Brisbane Roar at half-time. And Melbourne City, right before half-time, were copping it as they went down into the tunnel. Their fans absolutely giving it to them, Grace, and you can probably understand why. 0.18 on the XG, and we talk about XG, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not, and today you'd probably say that's fair.
Yeah, fair to say, and no doubt they'll be having some serious conversations in the sheds at half-time. And look, I'm sure given the quality on Melbourne City's bench and Brisbane Roar for that too, we're going to see a really thrilling second half.
Well, let's get the thoughts of Amy Chapman, who is sidelined for us this evening. Amy, you must be absolutely loving it down there in the rain, the Brisbane Roar turning on a show.
Yeah, a bit to unpack in that first half, Benny and Grace. What an entertaining game, and certainly the fans that are braving the elements here in Brisbane are getting their money's worth. Brisbane, no one would complain if they hesitated coming up against Melbourne City, given the 8-1 drubbing last time, but what a performance they put on. Ruben Zakovic clearly got them fired up, clearly said the right things to them, and I think definitely they're playing to the conditions better. Their transition football has been excellent, it's been quick, and they're using the width better than Melbourne City, so they deserve those 4 goals heading into halftime and a great performance. And on that, we will take a little look at the Paramount Plus Player Index, and it's the youngster, Keegan Jelicic. What a star. I've liked his performances for Brisbane on a number of times now. His work rate off the ball has been immense, but tonight he's truly getting some of the stats he deserves. His first goal, you can see here, his first assist for the night came very early on. He attacks that near post, really crucial intervention. And you can see here, he's finding himself in so much space. Great intensity and a really classy finish far post for the youngster. He finds himself in great positions often and getting a deserved goal there. So a wonderful game for him. He's been a great signing for Brisbane Roar and Ruben Zakovic, and they've still got some stars on the bench. Both teams both have the Marcos on the bench. Which Marco's going to come on first will be fascinating to see. But, geez, the youngsters have stood up for Brisbane Roar so far this half.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. And speaking of youngsters, well, there's not a youngster there, Matt Leckie, but one man who'll be trying to keep him quiet, no doubt, in the second half, Grace, is Kai Trewin. You just can't speak highly enough of this young man, 22 years of age, first A-League goal, but defensively, he's really impressed, hasn't he, since he's come into this league?
Yeah, he has. And even if you were to take that goal away from him, everything he's been doing at the back of the park as well has been really sound. He's measured for a young guy, just 22 years old. He's always up to task, and he's coming up against Socceroos players here. You know, rest assured that that's a big challenge for a young player, but time and time again he's positioned well and he's having a spectacular half so far.
Well, Brisbane with a 4-goal advantage. Melbourne City, they have got a bench to die for, and that is the Hungry Jacks half-time show. Melbourne City, no doubt, will be probably keen to empty the bench in the second half. But don't forget, tomorrow morning, it is the Asian Cup final. If you can't believe this scoreline, you're probably a little stunned as well. Jordan against Qatar. Qatar looking to go back-to-back and win the Asian Cup crown as they did back in 2019. So don't miss it. That's on 10 and Paramount Plus. Pre-game from 1:30, kick-off from 2 a.m. And later tonight, the Central Coast Mariners taking on Sydney FC. You do not want to miss that, because Angel Torres, he is a man on fire.
Docker again, Torres on that left foot. Oh, brilliant finish. Angel Torres, the man with the golden boots. Diaharis is looking for the run. Is there going to be one? Ballard for Torres. Miguel Torres. Angel Torres with another brilliant finish. He's scoring goals for fun at the moment.
Records are on the table tonight here at Suncorp Stadium, where it is Brisbane Roar leading Melbourne City 4-0 at half-time. Melbourne City, having lost 3 of their last 4, staring down the prospect of losing 4 in 5, and there are some heated conversations happening. Jamie Young having a chat to Jordan Hall, and right before half-time, Grace, one of the Melbourne City fans, as City went down the tunnel, was letting the team have it. And Marin Yakulish was having a few words with that fan as well, but I think his teammates just said, keep walking.
Yeah, had to keep Yakulish keep moving there. City fans who have made the trip not happy at all with what they saw in that first half, and with 4 goals down, well, you can understand why.
Now it looks as though there are going to be some changes. So Yakulish, who has been recovering from a hamstring injury, is going to play for the first time in more than a month. So he last played on January 7. Oh, and have a look at that win probability. So they're giving Melbourne City, I assume it's not exactly 0%, but it's been rounded down to 0. Brisbane, 99% chance of winning. Draw 1%, or maybe literally going off the A-League statistical history. And we can tell you that 5 teams in A-League history have come back from 3-0 down to get something out of a game. Twice win, 3 draw. Never has a side come back from 4-0 down or by 4 goals in a game to get something out of it. Marco Tilio still unused at the moment, but we are getting 3 changes here for City. Leckie, Yakulish and Tonis.
Well, big changes for City had to be as well. Aurelio Vidmar needing to make some changes, some attacking impetus, anything to switch this 45 minutes around for Melbourne City. But you've got to say as well, Brisbane have equal quality on the bench. Really good options to come off this next 45 minutes. Well, I'm so fascinated to see how this is going to play out.
So Brisbane looking to continue a stunning performance. Melbourne City trying to pull something out of the fire here. And it has been a cauldron for them at Suncorp Stadium this evening. 4 on the jaw in the first 45 minutes.
We'll keep a close eye too on City, just to see if they change their tactics, if they employ a high press when Brisbane have the ball. Some early touches back in Brisbane's defensive half a few moments ago would suggest that they may do exactly that.
So Andrew Naboot leaving the field, so too Jordan Hall, who started in the back line, and Alessandro Lapane, but it's not helping at the moment because Brisbane could be in for 5. Yes, there it is. Tom Waddingham's got a double, and Brisbane could not have started this second half any better.
Well, the Den are singing in the rain, and deservedly so. If you thought that first half was good from Brisbane Roar, strap in. And as Aurelio Vidmar could only sit back and wonder pensively what to do, Brisbane Roar on the Harvey Norman replay, dispossessed at the back, and it's a moment of individual brilliance, of individual skill. Good strength on the ball from Waddingham. Has a little glance, you can see his eyes look up, but that is a powerful strike on the left boot. Jamie Young, nothing he can do retreating. But what a finish, and what a start to this second half for the Roar.
5-0, remembering that Brisbane's biggest win in this competition, 7-1 against Adelaide back in 2011. Well, they're closing in on that. They're only 1 goal away from that kind of record. It's just amazing, isn't it? And we've banged on about it in this game, and we'll keep doing so, Grace. This would have to be, and Andrew Howe, I'm sure, is going to be doing the numbers here. I don't think there'd be a bigger turnaround in A-League history if this scoreline stays the same 8-1 defeat into 5-0, potentially more, plus victory. Like, it is just a ridiculous turnaround.
Well, it's astonishing. And we saw the win probability stat a few moments ago, 99% to Brisbane Roar, 1% chance of a draw, and at that point it had 0% chance to Melbourne City. And perhaps supporting that stat, Brisbane Roar unbeaten in their last 25 A-League men matches when leading at half-time, and that dates back to 2019. So the stats are there to support the outcome in what's been, you've got to say, a fairly astonishing game so far.
So City potentially walking into a Melbourne derby. You'd almost say sleepwalking into a Melbourne derby next week. Victory may have their own issues. They're in action at the moment against MacArthur. If you're keeping a couple of screens on hand to watch that one as well. Some intriguing matches going on right here in the Isuzu Ute A-League. It's the competition that you just cannot predict. You just do not know what's going to happen week in, week out, as Kai Truan, who opened the scoring for Brisbane, looking for Henry Hoare.
You just can't pick it, can you? And who would have ever thought that in 2 games, Melbourne City, a juggernaut, such an historically strong team in this competition, the last 2 games, they have conceded 9 goals. And there's still a good chunk of football to be played in this one here.
Kilroy and Coletti. Henry Hoare. So Matt Leckie on the field. Might be just as staggered by this scoreline. Coming off the bench, can he find something here for City? And Grace, is it just me, or is there fans that have walked into Suncorp Stadium at half-time? I feel like the crowd is getting bigger and bigger as this match goes on, as people around Brisbane think, I better head down to Suncorp Stadium and witness something special here. Yakulic, good shape on the delivery. And that looked to be a free kick. Now, just confirmation, there was a graphic before that said Jordan Hall had left the field. He is still out there at centre-back, so we'll just get that clarified as to the other change. Naboot and Lapani off the field for Melbourne City at half-time. Gary Politidis, the other player substituted. So it was a defensive one. Politidis off the field. And Hoare. O'Shea. Mile Jusnic. Hoare. Trying it back for O'Shea. And now Kilroy. Leckie trying to out-muscle O'Shea, but O'Shea was able to continue the forward movement. Jelicic looking for another assist. Chasing a hat-trick of assists tonight.
Well, Jelicic has lashed that across the face of the goal. But again, it's good movement. Good passing by Brisbane. Seems as though the rain has eased as well.
Jelicic looking for a double. Down he goes. Alex King. He had the whistle to the mouth. He lets play go on for the moment. Now Hingett. Jack Hingett. Surely he couldn't get in on the act. He hasn't scored a whole lot. 4 in his A-League career. This is the penalty appeal.
First question, how Jelicic remained on his feet for those earlier challenges, I don't know. Impressive, dazzling run into the 18-yard box. And City evidently desperate to stem the bleeding.
Antonis and Natel. Jakolic. As Ugarkovic around the outside and does eventually use him. His delivery deep towards Natel. And now McLaren. First touch was a good one, second one even better, but Macklin free. Just racking up another save tonight, and he's called into action again swiftly. He's had a good evening, the Brisbane Roar goalkeeper.
Well, he had to be alert to the danger. You mentioned it, but the first touch from McLaren teed himself up for the second. Positioning from Freak was the important thing there. Anywhere else in the frame of goal, and you think from that kind of range, that's a sure thing. But Freak does enough to hold on to this clean sheet for now. Still plenty of football to be played, but Brisbane looking very strong.
Freak. All got in a tango with Jego, but everything's just falling the way of Brisbane on these kind of nights, and now they earn themselves a free kick, and they've earned that. And Berenguer, well, this is just rubbing salt into the wound, isn't it? Former Melbourne City midfielder, former player of the year for them in this competition. He's going to make his return after just getting over a calf injury. He's had some injury concerns this season, just his 9th appearance for the campaign. And another player who's had some injury issues, Henry Hoare, he gets a breather. And what an evening from him. He hasn't scored, but he's done just about everything else.
Yeah, he can be very proud of that performance, Henry Hoare. Always so lively, looking to get involved, and he'll take a well-deserved rest on the bench. And we've got the likes of Florent Berenguer coming on to make an impact against none other than his former side.
And another chance for Brisbane goes begging. Keegan Jelicic, he's had some opportunities in this second half. Melbourne City fans, gee, they are, well, there's some smiles as well there, and it's fair enough. If you don't laugh, you'll cry in these kind of situations as a fan. And good on them for sticking around. They've made the trek north, or they're Queenslanders coming in to check out their side, but it's always tough to sit and watch, especially as an away fan, at these kind of matches where your team is getting just demolished. As Trewin drives it up to Hingett. And that was well won, really well won by Leckie. Antonis. And Burke-Gilroy gets a toe to it. And Hingett, that's the confidence Brisbane have. No safety first football at the moment. It's foot to the floor.
They're the moments from players like Matt Leckie, the Socceroo, just breaking up play in the middle of the park. He's strong, he's powerful. Didn't have the resulting outcome that he was looking for, but it's that kind of energy that City are going to need to try and find a way back into this game.
Waddingham, Berenguer. Well, it was the right option with that pace of Mile Jusnic. Just didn't get the weight on the pass right. You can understand he's just picking up his game time after injury. Natel skims it through, plays the 1-2, but Nikolovsky with the clearance. So Brisbane Roar's defence in this competition. 16 matches coming in here, 36 goals conceded, worst in the league, averaging more than 2 goals conceded a game. Truan and Nikolovsky at the back. They've conceded 1 goal against Wellington in closing in on 2 matches as Marco Tilio making his return to the Isuzu Ute A-League for Leo Natel. Hasn't been a happy night for him, hasn't been a happy night for his teammates, but maybe Marco Tilio can add a little bit of Marco magic off the bench on return. Just the 2 league matches for Celtic. So he comes back, and Aurelio Vidmar said that his fitness is good, not to play a full match, but he's in good shape considering he has only played those 2 league matches in Scotland.
Yeah, exactly right, and not even a full 2 matches, a total of 29 minutes in Scotland. But to have that kind of quality off the bench, I've seen already Matt Leckie, Myron Jakalic, and now Marco Tilio on as well. Well, they're very luxury players and no doubt looking to make an impact.
Hingett driving into the box, still going Jack Hingett. Almost bobbled its way into the path of Waddingham. And another corner on the way here for the Roar. Gee, he's turned back the clock, hasn't he, Jack Hingett? 33 years of age, 275 A-League men's matches. He's second all-time on the Brisbane list behind, that's in the A-League, behind Matt Mackay. What a servant of this club he's been in his 13th season with the Roar. And a more recent servant of this club is about to deliver the set piece. And it's low and it's flicked on. Jelacic has done it again. And he very nearly set up a second for Truan or a hat-trick for Waddingham. That is dangerous stuff, isn't it? You wonder, well, you're almost certain Brisbane have analysed this, haven't they?
Well, they must have. A team in City who haven't conceded from a corner all year until the first half of this very match. But somehow Brisbane have found a chink in the armour. Jamie Young, an excellent and vastly experienced goalkeeper, has been breached on 5 occasions.
Jay O'Shea just keeping himself well hydrated. Brisbane just complaining about the proximity there, and Burke Gilroy delivering. Beat everyone basically. Nikolovsky got a faint touch at the end of it all. Tilio turning on the afterburners, and Jay O'Shea blocked off his path initially. Jakalic has McLaren at that near post, and Macklin Freak, has he kept it in? Yes, he has. So, I mentioned Andrew Howe, the A-League stats man, and my phone lights up almost immediately, Grace. He's been on the job for me for the biggest turnarounds in the same A-League men's season. I'll go through that here as, well, here is a yellow ticket on the way for Galloway.
First of the afternoon for a City player, and an obvious one at that. Galloway knew what it would be the result from that challenge, just slowing things down for Brisbane.
The desperation from Nikolovsky. And then just undid it with the pass, which was well read by Ugarkovic. And now Berenguer. So the biggest turnarounds in A-League men's history, 9 goals. Brisbane were beaten 4-0 by Melbourne Victory. Then they beat them 5-0, so a 9-goal turnaround. This one right now is sitting at 12 goals. It could be more. Mila Jusnic. It was a tough angle. Jamie Young had it all covered off, but Brisbane is still coming. They want more.
Well, they've worked hard, but they've still got energy about them. Mila Jusnic, he's a willing runner. tricky angle to get a clean shot away. Jamie Young with a clean set of hands, does well.
And going back a little further with that stat, so the biggest all-time, this is inclusive of the NSL, back in 1980, the margin 13 goals, so Blacktown were beaten 9-0 by Marconi and then beat them 5-1, and Brisbane Strikers were beaten 7-0 by Adelaide City, then they beat them 7-1 in 95-96. So that's the kind of history on the table here for biggest turnarounds in a head-to-head between two sides in one season. 8-1 in December, City won, 5-0 down here, so sitting at 12-goal turnaround this one. Yakalish, half-time substitute, trying to make some kind of impact on this game. O'Shea slipping it out in front of Jelicic. Mila Jusnic. O'Shea already has one tonight as the captain. Coletti never scored in the A-League. Maybe tonight could be his night. He's dishing it off to Berenguer. Brisbane about to make some substitutions. Happy to see Corey Brown getting ready, but Jelicic continues to drive forward. Hingett plays the 1-2 with Jelicic. Look at this. Keegan Jelicic, he has put on a special performance, hasn't he?
Oh, he's a talent. He's a really silky player, comfortable on the ball, and he moves space with that. It's not just with his passing, but he moves the opposition by driving into spaces, and he's proved to be a really great link player in this Brisbane Roar side. That's obviously knitted together very well this afternoon so far.
Galloway. And Curtis Good. Finds Ugarkovic. Tom Waddingham getting back and doing the defensive work. Coletti, Berenguer. It's a formidable looking Brisbane Roar side, especially when you add the likes of Marco Rojas getting fitter and fitter. Still got players out injured, the likes of Neville, Aldred. But these young guys are doing outstandingly well tonight. And here comes some changes and a deserved rest for Burke Gilroy, who has worked so hard. And Corey Brown, who was the hero last week with that equaliser. He comes on, and Tom Waddingham, what a performance from him. A double. He's replaced by Marco Rojas.
Well, two players who have worked tirelessly this afternoon for Brisbane. Tom Waddingham, he's such a good ball winner as well. As much as he's playing up front as a striker, he hustles back to break up play, interrupt play. And there's a deserved congratulations from the coach and staff on the side. And what a young talent. Jay O'Shea receiving a bit of treatment too. There's been a couple of occasions he always receives attention from the opposition team, but he's been roughed about on a few occasions. I thought perhaps he'd pick up a free kick, but plays continued. He's obviously needed to get a bit of attention there.
And you can just see there, Chris Coyne on the bench for Brisbane Roar. Was with Ruben Zadkovic at Perth Glory. He was announced to join Ruben Zadkovic here at Brisbane as an assistant coach until the end of the current season. So some familiar personalities, some familiar surroundings for the new Brisbane boss, and it's working an absolute treat, isn't it? Brown. And Jelicic just measuring this pass over the top. Corey Brown, early delivery. You had visions there of Marco Rojas scoring his first goal for Brisbane. He's already scored 41 times in this league. He almost made it 42, and you'd be very brave to back against him in this game, because there's still plenty of time for the Kiwi creative maestro.
Certainly had that feeling about it, that play. Good early ball, whipped into the box. City did well to intervene on that occasion. But it still feels as though there's more goals left in this game. Just starting to slow down a bit, the energy dropping, and understandably so. It's been played at a fair flurry of a pace this afternoon, and with 20 minutes to play of regulation time, that energy's just starting to dip.
Brisbane through Rojas, and now Miller-Jusnic. Men in the middle. Oh, can you believe it? He's done everything, Keegan Jelicic, tonight, except he's come up with one of the misses of the season. Oh, wow.
Well, a shake of the head, and he knows more than anyone there where that ball should have ended up. It was a delightful cross from Miller-Jusnic. That is one of those ones that you can already see rippling the back of the net, and I think that's exactly where his head went. Important too, though, the response. Florin Berengay quickly getting around him, an arm around the shoulder to say, don't worry about it, get on with it. And those little moments can be the difference makers in a team. But no doubt Jelicic should have done much better on that occasion.
Well, some would say a blot on the copybook. I'd say maybe a very slight blemish. He has been the best player on the pitch, and, well, this is the impact it's having for Brisbane. Look at that. 21 points, and that's a huge boost for their goal difference. -8 from -13, and Melbourne City coppering a battering. They were +2 out to -3 now. Is there more damage yet to be done? And now Yarkolish. So this should be a corner for Melbourne City. Is there a consolation goal for City? Remember, their biggest A-League defeat in this competition, 6-0 against Adelaide. And that was back in round 2. Delivery onto the head of Truan. Ugarkovic! Well, you thought Melbourne City were about to get on the board, but you misread the script. It's Brisbane's night. and Macklin Freak is keeping everything out.
Well, Ugarkovic has hit that sweetly, connected really well. But Macklin Freak, strong hand, has gone with the correct hand, maintains his clean sheet.
Jago to the near post. Another chance this time. Melbourne City do score. It's a cracking drive from Terry Antonis. He's scored some super goals this season. And finally, Macklin Freak's goal is breached.
On a second time of asking on the Harvey Norman replay, and that is a wonderful, wonderful strike from Terry Antonis. We saw moments earlier, Ugarkovic denied. On that occasion, nothing Macklin Freak can do. A brilliant hit, muted only by the fact that there's a bit of a hill to climb here for Melbourne City. But that is a lovely finish.
One of the most technically gifted players in Australian football. Such a talent, Terry Antonis, who was frozen out at Western Sydney and gets back in the competition. This is a player who Everton tried to sign when he was 14, but due to the FIFA regulations preventing contracts for players overseas before 18, he couldn't head there. Melbourne City fans getting some joy. The margin is back to 4. Do I tempt history and say, Grace, that in December when these two sides last met, it was 5-0 to City when Brisbane scored to make it 5-1? Are we treading a similar path? Or is City going to produce something special here? Ugarkovic, Yarkalish, and McLaren has it beaten away by Freak. He just cannot break that drought at the moment. Still time for him. Yarkalish driving it at goal, and it spills for Freak. But Brisbane are getting a little bit of a scare here.
Yeah, certainly momentum swinging back in Melbourne City's favour. Macklin Freak has done really well here, just to smother the angle, to get across quickly. McLaren had eyes just to guide that one in. But Freak continues to impress this afternoon.
City have designs on a fight back, but Brisbane potentially could have an opening, remembering that City, and it is quite surprising based on what we've seen in the last 3 years, the last 15 minutes of matches have been their worst period this season. 9 goals conceded, and that's the worst in the A-League competition. That's the worst of any side.
It certainly feels as though City are starting to build back into this, and Vidmar pulling the strings and making a few changes from the bench, which he needed to. Just has the feeling that they're starting to settle in. With 15 minutes to play, well, Brisbane have worked so hard this afternoon, and I wonder if they're just starting to tire.
Leckie driving on, didn't have a teammate in Antonis alongside because he looked to get checked on the way through. O'Shea was under pressure from Yarkalish. He delivered the pass just in time, but City able to cut it out. And Tilio going on a run, copped a knock on the way through, and enough for a whistle.
Alex King looked to play advantage there.
Yarkalish. Off by Brown at the first attempt. He's done well there, Corey Brown, and then goes diving in. Players sprawling everywhere. And, well, free kick Brisbane, but can we just appreciate that from Jelicic? He's falling to the turf, and he's somehow able to find a pass in that situation if he didn't win the free kick.
Lots of physical challenges flying in at this stage. Desperation stakes. Something that Jelicic does so well. Incredible.
It is, and this is connection between two of the most recent Brisbane coaches, including Zadkovic. I know that Jelicic, of course, debuted for Brisbane in the A-League 2021, didn't get a new contract, went back, said, I'm going back to the NPL, played at Olympic under Ben Kahn, absolutely tore up the NPL Queensland, and then Ruben Zadkovic brought him in at Perth Glory. And he was superb for them, getting that move to Ghent in Belgium. Come back now on loan to Brisbane Roar. Truant scooped it over the top, and there was a clear push from Jelicic. So still this match sits at an 11-goal turnaround from the December clash, which would be the biggest in A-League history. The NSL records, though, would still hold at 13, those two matches I mentioned earlier. Unless City can find some more goals, which they certainly have the firepower to do so. Tilio just still finding that connection again, rediscovering it with McLaren. Berenguer has Rojas inside. Opts instead for O'Shea. The Frenchman to the Irishman. And here's the Aussie Jelicic. Brown, back post, Berenguer. Tried to be a little cute. Almost pulled it off, but couldn't quite do so against his old side.
Well, again, another sweeping move from Brisbane Roar, and they've just looked so delightful moving forward this afternoon. Doing so with ease, comfort. I'm sure Berenguer would love to join the party.
So Jamie McLaren is going to go 6 games without a goal. Not since his days at Perth. Back in 2015, the last time in one season he went 6 matches without a goal. Certainly could have had one tonight. Had a couple of chances just denied by Freak. Max Caputo onto the field. Scored his only A-League goal last season against Newcastle. Truant and Brown. At this point, Brisbane, they'd just be happy to see this match off. Don't want to get any injuries. They've got a 4-goal lead. Pulling themselves back into the top 6 race, now level on points with City.
City have managed that well, though. Although Brisbane happy to possess the ball in their own defensive half, it enabled City just to inch up ever so closer and eventually get a toe in to regain possession, and now they'll look to build. City love to be on the ball, and they haven't had as much joy doing so this afternoon.
Jakolic. Did that hit the hand of Brown? It did. And Alex King coming over. No conversation with Corey Brown, but some good signs from Jakolic, who's back for the first time in more than a month after recovering from that hamstring injury. So some good signs for him heading into that Melbourne derby next week, but they certainly did want to head into that clash with a defeat, but They're going to be joined by their opponents who are also heading in after a defeat. So it is going to be a crucial Melbourne derby next week. Melbourne City, though, thinking about pulling some late goals out of the fire here and trying to pull their way back into this one. 4 goals the margin. Tilio with the free kick. It's dangerous to the back post where Antonis was lurking. And now back into the mix-up. Into the lap of Freak.
There's a nice ball whipped in from Marco Tilio. Just threatening at the back post. Brisbane have done enough as they have so all afternoon, and this man on the ball, excellent as always. Jay O'Shea just dictating terms. He manages the tempo of a game so well. When to go forward, when to hold. And it's been fantastic again this evening for Brisbane.
Brisbane fans thought he was caught there, but play allowed to go on here for Melbourne City. And Tilio out in the wide expanses here of Suncorp Stadium, and that is Jack Hingett's domain tonight.
I remember it was Jack Hingett last week who came off as I believe it was a concussion sub when he had that knock to his eyebrow. He's had a really productive afternoon this afternoon, but looks to be in a little bit of grief there.
Yeah, it looks as though his night may be over. Are Brisbane going to rejig their substitutions? I was going to say as well, Grace, he's had a good job done on the eye, because you can barely notice where that head clash occurred. There was blood spilling out everywhere last week. That match against Wellington. And look at the Den. They have loved this match from start to finish. Just the second minute, Kai Truan scored the opening goal, and it's been all the team in orange since then. Melbourne City have pegged one back through Antonis, but they're not far away from celebrating here, Brisbane. Hingett still trying to run out that cramp. It looks as though he may not be long for this match. Still going here at Tilio, but he knows it's going to be tough. Tiring legs up against Marco Tilio. He's done well there. Lecky, Yarkalish making himself available, looking for the nutmeg pass on Brown. Jagger, and good. Lecky, and overhits that pass. It's just been one of those evenings for Melbourne City. And as I mentioned, have the derby next week. Brisbane, well, this is going to be mouth-watering. They are heading to Perth to take on Ruben Zadkovic's old side in the West next Saturday night. Spicy encounter, that one. Jack Hingett is going to be replaced by Zabala. So Armiento was initially going to come on, but with the cramping Jack Hingett wanting to leave the field, they're going to bring on Zabala. He gets a round of applause from the home fans. In his 13th season, second all-time appearances for Brisbane Roar. Joe Coletti also replaced. And Taras Gamulka, another Melbourne City product. from Adelaide, of course, but then to City. And Macklin Freak has gone into the book for time wasting. You wouldn't think there'd be too much time wasting going on with this kind of scoreline, but Alex King's getting on it early.
For Brisbane, it's just about managing out these last few minutes of play, keeping things nice and tight. They want to keep playing, which they have done even since early on when they went up 3-4-0 in the first half. They didn't sit back and just try and hold forward.
Dink towards that back post. Mile Jusnic is remaining out there. He was going to be the player substituted, so he's got a good opportunity here to play out these remaining minutes. Round of applause on the sideline from Ruben Zadkovic. And just confirmation that yellow card for Macklin Freak. Jay O'Shea has leaped over the top of Keegan Jelicic, who is leading the player index. Surely they're not counting that miss against him, are they, Grace? I think that may have pulled him back a couple of points. O'Shea, Waddingham, Jelicic. To be honest, can't go past any of them. You can't go past any player in orange tonight.
I think that's exactly it. I think across the park for Brisbane, everyone has played their part, played their role, known their responsibility. And those three players mentioned just then, O'Shea, Waddingham, and of course Jelicic, have been exceptional. I think the Paramount Plus player index on that occasion has that spot on.
Well, this is a rivalry that Melbourne City have dominated down the years. 21-12, the head-to-head coming into this one with 7 draws. But here at Suncorp, it has been a painful place for Melbourne City to come, despite what's been a dominant record at Amy Park. Brisbane have only won once there against City in the history of the A-League. But here at Suncorp, Brisbane about to make it 9-4. In that little battle, and could they make it 6 here? Paul just getting away from Mile Jusnic, and he has won a corner. As we find out, there's 4 minutes of additional time for Brisbane to try and find more here.
Well, a thumbs up from Mile Jusnic. It was well tracked by Curtis Good, had to be as well. And we know how rapid Mile Jusnic is, but good experience, timing was planned to perfection there. It's a good bit of defending.
Jay O'Shea happy to take a little bit more time off the clock. Rip-roaring start to this game from Brisbane, where they led 4-0 at half-time, 5-0 a minute after half-time. And they have the goals in the bank to ensure that the second half has been a relatively pain-free process. But Matt Leckie may be able to get another one, and Macklin Freak has denied him. He's had an excellent game in goals, the Brisbane keeper. He was apologising about the initial delivery, but he made up for it there.
Well, fingertip save, invited the pressure on himself, and hasn't been without their chances for Melbourne City, but with some quality goalkeeping, Macklin Freak has been able to do enough.
Jago in front of the City fans that have hung around. Appeals for handball from City. O'Shea is going to earn a sneaky goal kick there. And Alex King just explaining he didn't think it was a penalty. He thought the arms were by the body. Big week ahead for Aurelio Vidmar. Massive week ahead of the derby. Brisbane Roar just seconds away now from what would be their third 5-1 win A-League men's history. Their 2 previous 5-1 wins against the Mariners, 2010, 2017. That lines up nicely, doesn't it, Grace? 2024, once every 7 years. Maybe Melbourne City are going to ruin that here. Jakalic. Jelicic earning a goal kick. So just a minute remaining here before Melbourne City can get themselves off the ground, because they will be desperate to get off Suncorp Stadium and get back and prepare for the Melbourne derby. It has been a rough night at Suncorp Stadium. Jakalic straight at Freak. Another strong double-handed save from the Brisbane keeper. It's the Roar's revenge. Beaten 8-1 by City in December, it is they who hand out the punishment 6 weeks later. A 5-1 victory, a statement win here at home, and they are back inside of the top 6 with their first win against City since 2021. And Melbourne City, wow, they are in a hole. 4 losses in their last 5. They must pull themselves out, but you have to credit the work of this man. Brisbane's 4th coach this season. They could have been forgiven for it all falling apart, but Ruben Zadkovic has turned Suncorp into a fortress against some of the competition heavyweights. Last week, a last-minute draw against the ladder-leading Knicks, and then tonight, a thumping win against the 3-time defending premiers at Suncorp Stadium. A red-letter day for the Roar. They win it 5-1 against Melbourne City. Well, let's head down for some reaction with Amy.
Thanks, Benny. Yeah, I'm here with 2 times goal scorer Tommy Waddingham. Look, he's a little bit camera shy. He's not too sure what he wants to say, but what do you make of that performance? That was an immense game.
Yeah, great performance from the boys, you know. This week was a great training, you know. Dug in, coach was driving us, Ruben was driving us from the very start, so yeah.